So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me for my second podcast today on Unfiltered with Roxy. I'm your host, Roxana Feenster. And guess what? Today we are celebrating mental health awareness with the wonderful, the incomparable Delayna Watkins in the Wellness Lounge. This space is so beautiful, guys. So I just want to introduce you to Miss Delayna Watkins. So I'm so excited to have you. You're CEO, you're RN, CEO of the Wellness Lounge, board registered RN Nurses Rock. If anyone doesn't know that, they know all
my
the
nurse friends out there. Absolutely.
Yes, you have a book, you've won a couple of Amazon best-selling author, national TV show, host of the Women's Lounge show. So you won awards for that. You've been on a couple of different national platforms, People Magazine, Steve Harvey Morning Show, Dr. Oz, Fox 45, a whole bunch of others. So you're kind of a big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal on this platform, in this space that I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
When you become a big deal, it's because you're passionate.
Yeah,
about whatever it is that you're doing. So I thank you for not only hosting this here in the Wellness Lounge, but to bring some awareness and recognition to mental wellness.
Yes, and one of the things with being a nurse is you kind of get the full lifespan development of what mental health looks like at every stage. And I think one of the things that we did not tell the audience about is that you also have a program for women's wellness specifically. And so I thought mental health awareness, we could talk about women's mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that being able to have these conversations and what I like to call very organic and very open conversations is so needed. You know, when you see it or you hear it and you're able to relate what your, story is, or maybe what you're feeling or what you're going through helps other individuals.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like being very organic. It's one thing to really get the information. Sometimes it's the sender that the message gets lost to the receiver. And so I feel like it's very important that we have those conversations to just say, look, okay, girl, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you need this. Or, sis, do you need that? Just kind of tailoring what you're saying to your audience. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to be able to do that.
One of the things, I'm in perimenopause, kind of going into that stage, trying to get information out there. And a lot of the information that I found is very whitewashed.
Yes.
And so I'd be interested to hear some of what you've seen as your clients are coming in. And just because a lot of times when you're going through things, like you said, you want to see yourself in that story and how someone has overcome or really become competent in whatever that stage of development is. So for me, it's, I'm feeling like different ranges of emotion. Maybe sweating out my clothes. Maybe my flow was heavier than I'm used to, and I've had to be at work and have to go home and change.
Maybe I can't remember what I came downstairs for. Maybe I don't know why I haven't been able to complete exactly. Maybe I can't complete this project, whereas before I could, kind of bang it out. So there's a lot, and I find that physiologically we can understand what's going on with the hot flash. And so it's the psychological piece of it that a lot of women struggle with, especially if you're somebody who normally was one to, be very sharp, get things done. It can be very not, empowering. It can be very frustrating. It can be, me not being at my A game, so to speak. So there's a lot of emotion tied to that.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's like, okay, am I not, as confident as I was? Am I not as effective as I once was? And so that can play heavily on women sometimes as well. So
definitely going through that.
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, you can relate as well as your listeners can relate to this, And I just want to send this message out there is that number one, believe what you're feeling and know that your journey is just that. It's your journey. So it's not going to mimic or mirror someone else's. And I want you to lean into what you're feeling, right? Embrace what you're experiencing, so that you can understand this journey and not hate it the whole way through, right? Because even with your being in perimenopause, there's this whole postmenopause that happens, right? Once you actually, reach that. So it's going to be different because again, it's part of the, feminine evolution, as I call it. It really is. It's the part of where we are as women when we go through that whole cycle of life. And so perimenopause, straight on through postmenopause, just part of really that whole evolving. You're evolving, and that's the second part of your life.
And so thinking about Mental Health Awareness Month and some of your background and what you're bringing to your wellness lounge, what kind of experience can you share with the audience about kind of, yes, it's the physiological, yes, there's mental health things, but I think it's kind of like, I don't know if this is true, but maybe I'm just asking.
Right.
But as a teenager, you feel things more intensely. Is that the same like when you're in menopause and you're in peri and it's like, I'm having a bad day, but it's like times 100?
Yes. Again, so when we think about those parts of the whole evolution that I spoke about, so there's this puberty, right? And then there's the part where we're able to reproduce. So that's the puberty. And then we obviously have our period. And then we can go into having pregnancy. And then there's this perimenopause. So it's the piece that happens. And we're okay with all of this up here, going into puberty, getting our cycles and, talking about the fertilities and, having intimacy. And then having, pregnancy for some of us. And it's something about between there and getting to perimenopause that the conversation dies out or doesn't happen. And so therefore, I feel like it does leave women thinking that either they didn't do something right here, right, and so now they're paying for it. Like they're suffering that other part of the trajectory. And what I don't want is for women to feel that that's what's happening. I need them to really understand and embrace and know that it's all part of the journey. It's all part of, again, that whole feminine cycle. It's part of the feminine evolution. And so when we were teenagers, we think about it like, when our cycles were coming, it's like you feel everything times 100, all of the emotion, the flood of hormones. The exact same thing is happening at this point in your life as well, except there's a decline in the hormone, that estrogen that we so heavily had at the very beginning. And so, yes, you're feeling it, but you're feeling it differently. Your 40-something-year-old self was feeling it, but your 20-something-year-old self was feeling this rush of hormones. So that's a great way of visualizing exactly what's happening at this point.
So when I had came in to see you what, I guess it's like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I actually was going through a very heavy couple of days, and I like shared that with you. And I think a lot of women don't have like that safe space, like a safe space where you can say your emotions, say how you're feeling, and not be judged by it, and not have to worry that somebody else is going to tell your secrets. So I had met Delayna with another friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Barbara. And I was able to tell you guys the things that I was going through. And even that I was having a bad day and just
being okay with having
you guys just encouraging me. It wasn't therapy, but it wasn't like medicine, but it was medicine for my soul. So it's like, I really would hope that people would be able to find those safe people, those safe spaces, so that they can heal too. And I even texted you guys because it was so impactful for me. To have someone like, no, that's not messed up that you thought that, or it's not, you're not this failure of a person, because at that point you really are feeling like, well, I can't even concentrate, I can't even do this, like what's going on? Oh, I'm fighting with my kids, I'm doing this, and it's like, yes, maybe I was the person at fault, but I just needed someone to listen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Because
just,
you will stay in your head.
Right.
You play mental gymnastics because there's no one else to talk to.
Yeah.
You're in your head, right? But being able to say what it is that you're feeling and being very transparent about that is so crucial, right? And having that safe space to then not be judged once you're able to express what you feel. I think when we keep things bottled up, we're not able to even articulate it if we're not speaking the truth, right? If we're so busy trying to make it not seem so, bad, or that it's, I got a handle on it or whatever, we end up really watering down what the scenario is, or watering down what the emotion is that you're feeling. So that's why I said a few moments ago, lean into what you're feeling. Your emotion is your true emotion, and no one can feel that but you. And so when we allow our shoulders to just drop and feel comfortable leaning into that and not being judged by it, that's when a whole world of things will open up for us, right? Because you were able to receive what Barbara and I had to say, because you weren't looking for us to say, well, girl, why did you do such and such, and what did you do, and or feeling that you were ineffective or not doing it. Was okay, you said this, you felt this, validate that or confirm this, right? And so it allows you to do that outside of us playing mental gymnastics.
And I think like women, we kind of get to a space where it's like we're playing different roles, but we're not being our authentic self. And it does affect your mental health. And we had talked a little bit about that. So I don't know how much you want to share about your story and being authentic, even in the workplace, even if you have to quit what you're doing. I'll do a different podcast, a different conversation about quitting, not just quitting work, but quitting those roles and how it can affect your mental health.
Absolutely. So again, it's part of, I feel as women, we're just, most of us are very nurturing by nature.
Yeah.
And so we tend to want to show up in those spaces all the time, regardless of whether it's professional, personal, financial, commit, whatever. We want to show up as that authentic person and be very nurturing. And I find that when we're in places and spaces where that's no longer serving us, or it's not accepted, that we then begin to question our worth and our value, oftentimes, and sometimes that can kind of weigh heavily on us. For me personally, when I knew that I was no longer showing up as my authentic self, really being valued for what I knew my worth was, I had to begin to evaluate that and create an exit strategy for myself so that I could wake up each day really walking into what that purpose is and that authenticity. It takes another level of weight off of me, right?
It does.
Yeah, so that was sort of where I was like almost 4 years ago. And I just thought, this is good, this is great. Not even so much as being at a ceiling, even though I, looking back, I felt like I also was at a ceiling of where I was, in the corporate workplace. And so that can do a number on your mental as well, not feeling that you're able to, use your skill set or move up or, do certain things.
Or just learn new things
just
in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like your
soul is not my soul isn't being fed. It's not right. It's like I'm creating trouble just so I can put out fire. Just so woo, what's y'all having problems with that? So I can come over there. But honestly, you might find yourself, or maybe even, signing up for various roles and wanting to be on this and be on that so that I can, either learn a new skill or show what I can do. So that can also become tiring as well. And what I would like to really employ, your listeners is pretty much, again, it's all, and I hate to sound broken.
No, but we need to
into that. Yeah. You have to, no one can tell you what to feel and what you're experiencing except yourself. So really lean into that authenticity of what it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
And even if it looks crazy, even if it sounds crazy, even if it's, not what you thought, like I'm at 45, I didn't think I'd be, going to that job, I didn't think I would be, I thought I'd be retiring from here or whatever the case may be that we may have said to ourselves, or thought or whatever. It's okay, scratch it. Tear the paper.
Yeah.
Erase the chalkboard. Start over.
Yeah, definitely okay.
Okay. Pause this, rewind it, do whatever. It is okay to start anew. I promise you.
Once you rip the Band-Aid
rip that Band-Aid off. It's okay. And I always, kind of have this disclaimer. I'm not saying walk away from your job. I'm not saying walk away from your career. What I'm saying is lean into what you're feeling.
Right.
And if that's no longer serving you, find something different. Do something different. Learn something different. Or add something that will give you a different experience that may make that experience a little better for you. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying go resign, give your 30-day notice. I'm not signing on to that, not, pushing that narrative. But what I am saying is, we as women, certainly women of color, tend to stay longer than we should in certain situations. So that's spiel on that.
I think we don't take the time to do that inner work. Because I know for me, I will run from my feelings fast as I can run.
You just wish you could burn calories while you run, right? But you just playing some mental gymnastics. You ain't burning nothing except brain cells. You ain't burning a thing, sis. If you're running, you're not burning a thing except brain cells. There's no energy being expended. I need you to,
So running to me is, I'm not even being quiet enough for 5 minutes to figure out what that is, because I have so many projects, like you're saying.
Right.
I'm going to get more projects. I'm going to volunteer more. I'm going to do more at work, do more at church, and do more with my kids. And all that, I can't focus on the things that are making me unhappy.
Yep. I use this analogy, like when I'm doing a speaking presentation, I use this analogy that we as women will do all of those things, right? And so I want you to picture yourself moving, but you're moving side to side, but you're going nowhere. Versus if you make those steps and you put your feet in front, you're still moving, you're actually going, right? So that's the kinetic energy that's making you go, because you're putting in the effort, you're doing these things. But otherwise, we find ourselves just moving side to side because we're just so busy.
And you get really hurt.
You are, because you're trying to show up and you're compartmentalizing how you're showing up each of those things, right? And so then at a point you get the question, am I really effective in here? Do I really need to be on this committee? Am I really showing up for this project? Why? Because we become bobbleheads. Instead of doing this, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then we're not showing up authentically for ourselves. There's no time left for that, right? Because we're doing mental gymnastics. So save this, bookmark it. Delayna at the Women's Wellness Lounge said, cut that out. I'm giving you permission. Unfiltered with Roxy is telling you, let's see those things go.
Let them go.
Whether it's start in this quarter to prepare yourself to let it go in next quarter. I'm not saying wake up tomorrow morning, next week, next month. Prepare yourself to begin to create.
And even when you do that, it's still going to be people that are going to be upset that you put the boundary, because I don't know if people were upset when I made my transition from work, but I basically was like, look, by the end of the year, 6 months. By the end of the year, 3 months. By the end of the year, I'm transitioning.
Right.
So it's like people can have that idea, but I still think they don't know that, oh, wait.
Right.
You gave me the countdown, but wait.
I was coming.
Right. But it's like, make that transition so then you can feel good about it, and then don't feel obligated to still hold on to that stuff. Because I think if you transition good, it's still going to be painful, because that's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to still be painful, but
that was because it was part of your purpose. Who you are, right? Now, if it was something that you didn't show up for, something that began to become a chore, or you weren't valued or kind of respected, then the separation would have happened quite some time ago, right? The countdown would have been right. I also say that people check out mentally before they leave physically. Okay.
Yeah.
So that tends to happen, and so doing that countdown was probably a good thing for you, because it allowed you to disconnect mentally and emotionally before you physically separate yourself from the workplace, right? So that's also huge.
So like as a tool, that's good. Yeah, because I think sometimes you stay in the relationships, but it's like we can start doing things to kind of separate. Maybe don't
engage as much. Don't go on, whatever. If we're talking about like intimate relationship dates, or even having sex. Sometimes until you feel like, let me separate myself physically,
Yeah.
right? To see what I need and want emotionally.
Yeah.
To see if that's being fed. So again, we either will continue to stay checked in emotionally and mentally before we leave physically, then we know that this is something that we've thought through, right?
Yeah.
And it's easier for us to continue to do what it is that we, desire versus make that.
I just thought about something while you were saying that.
Mhm.
A lot of women get tasked with like doing all the family gatherings. So maybe something that you could do is cut back on how many you host, how many you are willing to cook and attend for. And at first, maybe say, oh, well, I can't. But then the second time, maybe say, no, I don't want to. I have other plans.
Exactly.
And then the next time after that, it can just be no.
No, exactly. And that's what I would say. So no is a complete sentence, but you can put the T on the end and say not right now.
Yeah.
Like when you're asked to do something, oh, not right now. My plate is full.
Yeah.
I become the queen of that. Like not right now. So I'm not saying to you that I wouldn't enjoy doing it or that I don't want to do it, but not right now.
I can't do all of them.
Right. So, or I'll say, I can't do Memorial Cookout, but by Labor Day, I may be able to host Labor Day.
Right.
Or something like that. Right. So you're not completely shutting them down. You're being true to yourself. And then you're also giving yourself time to decide if that's what you want to do. So I think find what works for you, but begin doing something.
And we're just trying to give ideas of how to get our mental wellness, because we're in the wellness. How to get our wellness back, because a lot of times people don't talk through those hard parts of it, which is like, oh, I have a family member that's always saying these things to me. Oh, I have all these things and I don't know. I think people don't even know how to say no. So it's like, maybe I can do this.
Right.
Oh, not now, later.
Exactly.
You're giving yourself and then when you get to the point of how we are, no. I'm not going to do it. Because my husband asked me something, and I was like, no. I like looked around and I was like, oh, maybe I can make it. I was like, no. He was like, my wife didn't know. I was like, I can't.
You do need to say, well, I can leave this early. Right. No. So now that you've done that, right? That's all part of boundaries as well. Right. The more you do that, and the more the people that love you and care about you, they get that as well, and they understand it.
Right.
So here's what I said to my husband. Me saying no is good for me and you, because you get more of me. Right. You get a better, nicer part of me. Exactly. I'm showing up. So me saying no to that thing is good for you. It's good for me, and it's good for you. It's good for just relationships all around, right? Versus me doing something, going somewhere where I really don't want to be. And meanwhile,
No, that's so true.
Yeah. So me saying no, honey, it's good for me. So again, having that person who is invested in you and cares about what you're doing, let them know why you're shifting away from what you would normally say. Yeah, okay, no problem, I'll do it. And then suddenly you are showing up for things. No, there's nothing wrong. Right. I'm just shifting. That's all.
And I think you can give a reason, but I don't think you have to. Yes.
Necessary. Again, know that you care about what you believe.
Because you don't want them to think it's them. I think even with our kids, sometimes I have to tell them, no, I'm like tired. You guys need to stop. Like, I'm done. I'm at max capacity.
There you go. You just said it. Max capacity. I can't help. And that's the
can't show up here.
Yep. I'm at max capacity.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth to do X, Y, and Z, right? Yeah, maybe last time I did. But I can't. And see the expectation, because you're shifting and they don't realize that, is that you are there and that you're available. And even showing up to continue to do the same things that you once did. No, even if I come, I don't want to cook, clean. Right. I don't want to do all that. So if I come, I'm just here to be. We're here. What are you bringing? My appetite. What are you cooking?
We waiting for you.
So again, it's slowly shifting those norms.
So I was just looking at some of the things that we wanted to talk about. We talked about being your authentic self. Yeah. Life during menopause, having those surges, and put midlife crisis here. But I feel like it's not just midlife, because I was talking to my daughters about this. That it's like, it could be like your mid-20s, you have kind of an identity crisis, mid-30s, mid-40s, mid-50s, mid-60s. Because I think at each stage, you're always like assessing what am I doing right now?
Yeah. It's so
Why
funny.
am I doing
I did have this conversation with both my girlfriend and my husband. So we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary. Yeah, kudos to that. Woo! Now we've been together 19 years, married for 15, and I said to him, "I'm not who you married." And he was confused. He was like, "What do you mean? Who are you? Who are you?" And like he got nervous. Okay, so I told him I should have went down my maybe even 3 times, but whatever. So I said to him, honestly, no. When I think back, I married you in my 30s, right? Even then, I was still trying to figure out who I was at that point in time. So I said, you should be happy that I'm not who you married. All of us should be evolving as individuals. So having said that, friends may change again, as we say, life, career, relationships, friends that you may have been friends with then, you may not be friends with now. So I find that when we know that, it's okay. Yeah. It is so okay.
We don't talk about that. But
It's like, it's that whole midlife, even in your 20s, and again, like you said, your 30s and 40s, you're evolving. Yeah. Your interests may be changing. And so therefore, the dichotomy of what you're doing and who you're around may change. So it's okay. You're not going crazy.
But one of the things that have never changed for me is health and wellness. And just like always wanting to help the community. So I think that's like the undertone.
Oh, yeah. That's part,
but it's like
that's part of who you are.
Not the same way.
Exactly.
Not showing up the same way.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. That's who you are, right? At the core of your being. It's just how you show up is going to be different. Like I knew at, 15, probably younger than that. Be a nurse.
I was about to say that
whole nursing thing.
It's just such a great profession where you can do so many different things.
Exactly. How I showed up over there is different. So although that health and wellness has always been, and caring for others has been always the underpinning of who I am, it's just now I show up differently in that space. That's all. Yeah.
And I think what I admired about listening to your story is that you were like not scared to do something else.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of times nurses, teachers, these brilliant people don't see their brilliance and they just think that they have to stay in whatever little box. So and that's like what perked my ear, like, oh wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I did something different. That's so, and I think for me, because you don't hear people say that they've jumped ship and or changed the course.
Of course, yeah. And it's scary.
It is scary, but those are the people that you want to hear about.
Yeah.
Well, how did you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got tired and I left one day.
Just say
you got tired and left.
Well, tell me more about that. I'm like, again, which is why I say it's an individual thing. You really have to, and I know in that moment, it was me being in touch with that. Yeah. Because the 30-year-old self me, and probably even the early 40-year-old self me, is like, wait a minute, I don't have a phone. I don't have time. Ooh, I need an X amount of money to do this. And like I'm always forward thinking about what is the impact of this decision going to be. Well, I'm close to 50-year-old stuff. It's just like, right. What do you want to do? Okay. What do you need to do to make this vision, a reality? So you just think differently. Yeah. As I said before, we're not who we were. Like how we even process things is different, right? The maturity level is definitely different. So I would just say, again, I can't say this enough, really lean into where you are, in your journey, in your walk, what you're feeling, doing that inner work, just doing that inner work. Yeah. This inner work. It can be scary sometimes. It can, maybe open up old wounds or scars, or maybe even reveal some things that we've suppressed because we're so busy doing this and doing that and not sitting still with it. But do the work, and really find out what's in there.
Have you ever heard of shadow work? It's like when you're, and they said it's by Nietzsche, but it's like you're looking at why am I doing the things that I'm doing. So it's not the shadow work is like, oh, this person just gives me bad vibes, but it's like, well, are they giving you bad vibes because they wore a color of somebody who had wronged you before? Yes. Like it's like doing that deeper work. So I had ran into that helping someone do a PowerPoint because I was looking for extra projects to do.
Right.
And And my husband's cousin does a whole thing around ACEs. And in there, she talks about shadow work. And I said, well, what's shadow work? And reading her book. And I said, wow, that's like, and she said, oh, it's life changing. And I said, I can imagine, because if you know why I'm thinking and doing the things that I'm doing, you'll operate different.
Exactly. Because it has deeper meaning.
Yeah.
Right? Again, if you don't sit and do the work to really figure out why. It's almost like the sense of nostalgia. Like there's certain scents that I can smell that will take me back to childhood.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I may see that may take me back to a point in time. And like that's kind of a little bit what it sounds like. Shadow work may be kind of similar to that.
Because it's like, just because I remember Delayna Van Sant had a show where this couple had met. It was the very, her show. And the husband had said, oh, well, when I met her, she reminded me of home. So I was like, well, what was home for you? And when he was describing it, I was like, oh my gosh, his idea of home was this tumultuous thing, and that's what his marriage was. And it's like, it felt like home, but home is not
that's
good.
It wasn't good for you.
Right.
Then what you were seeking was relative to that, right? Again, that's doing that work and really figuring out. There was an episode that my husband watches from a show on BET, I think it's Fatima or something. And in the show, the husband, the boyfriend took Fatima, I think is her name, to a therapist while his mom and the brother was there. She didn't know they were in there. So she walks in with him and he said, I want you to see why I treat you the way that I do and why I respond to you the way that I do. And when that mom talked about the various things that she had done to him and what he was exposed to, she was in tears because it gave her a better sense of why he had abandonment issues, why he communicated the way he did, the things of that nature. And it took for him to also do the work to realize that's where it came from, right? And so for her to see that and to hear it, because the mom was there, really helped to save their relationship and what they were going through, or at least gave her better understanding. Because I think at the time she was ready to just walk out and not participate in the relationship. So I think we all have to do the inner work to really figure out what that looks like.
Because we do that.
We do, we do that.
We look cute.
We get it together. But it's the inner work. It's the inner work. It can be scary, because sometimes what we don't think about protects us. Right? And so I think when we do the inner work and we're at a position in a place where we can really deal with it, it can be very effective if done properly, right? And with the right support. And even if you don't have that in your family or your friend group, go get a professional. Go get someone like Miss Delayna. There's so many people that, or like Barbara. I think I met Barbara through an event. It's not even like, oh, we were friends, and just, immediately seeing that she was a safe person. There's no pretense with her. She just wants to be there for people. So it's like connecting with those people, not the people that are seeking from you. Oh yeah, for sure. And just like you, even though I think emailed with you through Barbara, we had only actually met in person, and you felt safe enough with us discussing, other things and how authentic that conversation was to feel safe enough to share what you were feeling, about your transition and all of that. So I think oftentimes if we use discernment to know that the person that you're sharing with, that they show up authentically, then it's like, oh, like I feel you show up and blow up. It's almost like, oh, I've been waiting to tell somebody about this. Oh, I've been waiting to share this. Lord. No, honestly, you find that space and you're like, ooh, okay, good.
And really what it is like me not knowing you, but you clearly have done that inner work where it's like you were a safe space. One of the affirmations that I do in the morning is, I have inner peace, and therefore the world is gonna because I'm working on my inner peace. That also makes the world more peaceful, and I think that's true because then we don't have that storm and just going around making storms. Like we're peaceful, so like if I'm in a storm and I come to you, It's like,
yes,
oh,
creating
well,
that,
okay.
right?
Yes. Well, you know, so I think
There's enough storms out there.
Right.
You don't need to bring
Yeah.
a storm.
Yeah.
Basically, right? You could easily go
to
out
each
and find-
situation, to each
situation. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, there are safe spaces, and even you being in here gave it the, set the tone for the safe space. And then the conversation.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, here in the Wellness Lounge, that was my vision, was to create the safe space.
Because when you come in here, there's no like, I don't feel on edge. And it's a beautiful space. Everything was very high end, but it's still very like chill.
It's welcoming. It's like, I want you to feel like you're walking into your girlfriend's living room, right? Or even your own living room, your own, prayer room, your own zen space, your own whatever that you need at the moment. That was the idea behind really creating this, not to make you feel as though you're coming into a clinic or a doctor's office or a psychiatric, space or anything like that. It's really just wanting you to come in here and just say, okay, leave outside, come in here and let's find out what you need. And if it's not here, let's find out where it is and get you to what you need.
Well, that kind of is a good segue. So I think a lot of times when we talk about mental health, we think that we have to have a diagnosis and get a treatment. I'm doing air quotes.
Right.
What do you think about, because in our Black community, it's hard for people to like come to terms with the fact that they may need to seek help. And just even the idea of getting a diagnosis, oh my gosh, you want me to take medicine or you want me to take a treatment to talk to someone, can be so overwhelming. What is like a good first step?
What we talked about before, which is starting with yourself, doing the inner work, understanding and knowing that, there's help outside of you, compartmentalizing what it is that you need, doing those mental gymnastics to feel like you have to show up for all these various roles. I think even if it's just initially doing some work where you're peekabooing, as I call it, like maybe looking at a YouTube video or listening to this podcast or just seeing what a session looks like before you actually show up in it, so that when it's time, it doesn't feel as scary or it doesn't seem like, you would be labeled or, labeled as weak or as that you're sick or you got, psychiatric diagnosis that's going to follow you around. In the past, it's been one of those things where it's like, I don't know that I'm really know that I'm depressed. Nowadays, it's like, oh, you don't have that on your brain? Oh, yeah. So it's like part of who we are as individuals, not letting that thing define how well we do what we do or show up as great as we can be, right? Instead, it's, oh, this was something that you experienced, and then how well are you doing with that, right? So that's a little negative, or a different way to think of something that once was negative and now kind of make it positive.
Yeah, and I think there's so many examples of therapy sessions of seeing providers, in their element, that we shouldn't have.
I'm a big proponent of that. Like, don't have it where, I'm coming into, again, as I said a few moments ago, into a space that's very welcoming and warm. And I just feel like the conversation we're having, whether we're sitting here speaking or going to sit on the sofa or sitting at the hot tub, wherever you're comfortable, wherever you feel as though what it is you need to share will be easily, talked about or whatever. I think understanding that and knowing also requires you to do. And then when you come in, you may end up sharing more than you thought you might because you were in that right environment as well. So it's so important to find the right way to do it. Some people don't want to be in the space. Some people want to be virtual. So we now have telehealth, right? So where you can be in your home, in your, surrounding that's comfortable to you, and I'm wherever I am, and we're having that conversation, and you still feel comfortable. So
I would think if you are in your house, though, I think it should be somewhere where everyone else can't hear you, or in your car would be good because no one else can
listen to you,
and you can be comfortable sharing without
definitely have to be comfortable. Like even here when we do mental wellness sessions, as you can see, this space is really open, but there's an actual office back there, like a mental wellness. So that's where we go in to do the intake of that. The doors aren't separate. I need for women when they're in there to be able to safely say what they need to say, share what they need to share, cry if they need to cry, laugh if they want to laugh, be mortified if they need to get something out that they haven't confronted before, to be able to do that and do it safely without the, again, you're here, there's no judgment, but until you feel that may be what you're feeling, until you kind of get to that place where you're able to share it without having those reservations.
And don't feel like the first person that you meet is who you have to stay with, or the first healing circle you're in, the first whatever that first is. If it doesn't feel comfortable, you have to find somewhere else. Yeah.
If it is, great, stay with it. If it's just maybe the springboard to something else, then that's cool too. Like sometimes it may be, I just need to get my feet wet. I just need to get that. Okay, so here's a group that may be a little more conducive to what you're, experiencing or what was revealed, in that first session. Maybe this isn't the setting for you. Right. Let's find you a setting that's a little more appropriate for what it is that you need to do further work in, right? So it could be something that you haven't talked about or didn't explore, but you need a group that's more fitting for that particular thing that may be weighing you down. So,
I started before, right after my mom died in 2019, I did a women's circle. It wasn't, I guess it was a healing circle, but we were all different. And it was we did different activities. So it wasn't one-on-one, but I think that was good because there's healing in us just meeting together.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did the same thing here. It was similar to, we called it good grief. And we were grief isn't just necessarily the loss of a loved one. Grief is a loss of a job, loss of who you are, because we lose ourselves in what we do. So those activities were fun as well, because people really, when you think of grief, you sort of think of it as the loss of an individual, person. Grief could be the loss of a job.
Everything, all the things,
relationship, money, whatever. You're grieving the loss of that.
Yeah,
and it's okay.
And I think because you're a menopause expert, but I think even going through that whole thing of, I'm not going to have kids anymore. I have a stomach now.
Yeah. Yep.
Where did that come? Just, whatever it is, your skin isn't the same. You're grieving kind of
who you were. Like I said, midlife. It's all part of that, right?
Yeah.
There's stages to grief.
Yeah.
Right? Denial, acceptance, bargaining, and all that. There's a lot. Yeah. I'm praying for this. Give me that, Lord. Take away these boobs. Take this back. If you set this up, we're doing that whole bargaining thing, or just so it's a process. It's a process.
So from the wellness lounge, what's the takeaway you would like us? I know I can guess what the takeaway is, but I'm gonna let you have your last.
Oh, absolutely.
Takeaway.
Give me my last 15 seconds. The biggest takeaway for me is that I want women to tap into wellness at every stage of life and to not think of sick care.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want you to think that there has to be something wrong before you go and see, a healthcare practitioner. I need you to know that you deserve the right to be well. And that's it. We have to keep there.
Yeah. Oh, I just love that. Even going to see a therapist, just that whole psychological thing of I'm in a good space. I can focus on looking better. Inner beauty better.
Yeah, inner beauty better. Right.
Because we do that with our fitness. We're like, I want to actually get more muscle, or I want to be more agile, but we don't do that with our bodies.
Yeah, again, back to mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same thing. It's psychological, and then there's physiological. Right? We do real great with that because it's something that we can see.
Right.
It's the psychological piece of it that was our experience, and it's more innate versus outward that people can see that.
Well, I'm so glad that you really dropped some gems of wisdom with us today.
Pleasure.
You're very busy, so we appreciate you taking out the time to just impart wisdom and really educate us on being well, taking care of ourselves, doing that inner work.
Inner work. Yeah, it was gonna be the inner work. Yeah, that's it. Well, thank you for having me on Unfiltered with Roxy.
Yeah,
I appreciate
definitely,
and coming
definitely.
into the lounge. It's always great when I
Yes.
get, women to come into the lounge.
And I'm gonna put your information so people can really connect and come get the ambiance and the healing that is in here.
Absolutely. You walk in those doors, you'll experience it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here with us, Unfiltered with Roxy. Have a great rest of your day.